we see is at 4:27:11, DM make an outgoing call to somebody. Then about 40 seconds later, we see on the 1320 Linda Lane cam that a vehicle starts coming down Blake Avenue up here. There they are at 4:27 and 50 seconds. Is it a coincidence? I don't think so, because of what that vehicle continues to do. It comes all the way down Blake, and then it's going to go west on Taylor, and we'll see it passing. Let's listen for it here. Very loud pipes on that one. I get a clue. I always thought that was a big black rumbly bumbly truck. Turns out it wasn't. It was a sport utility vehicle, and we see it soon. Now, it passed Linda Lane at 4:28 and 36 seconds. So if it was pulling up in front of the house for DM, then we would expect for DM's phone to go dark after her last call here or text to Xana at 4:28 and 44 seconds. So not coincidentally, from 4:28:44, DM's phone goes dark all the way down to 4:32 and 57 seconds. Just happens to be at the exact same time that sport utility pulls in front of their house. And since the sport utility, their lights never hit these windows right here, we know that it never even really made it far past 1112 before it stopped and parked. So it's definitely going to the King Road residence when we look at it from the sky map. Now remember, if this vehicle, because this road is an incline, if it ever reaches this point right here, you see his taillights in the windows of the house over here. So that means this vehicle parked just past the camera right here. And then it's really convenient when we go back to this document and tells us what happened over the next 15 minutes. When we go back to this document, and it talks about on October 17th, I received an email from the Latah County Prosecutor's Office in reference to downloading additional video from the security cameras seized from the residence located at 1112 King Road in Moscow, Idaho. Previously, video had been downloaded from the camera for the approximate time frame of 2:30 to 4:30 on November 13, 2022. These videos were downloaded and contained audio. Through different methods using forensically acquired data from the camera's SD card, additional videos were downloaded. However, they did not include audio. I was requested to download videos to include audio from the approximate time frames of 4:45 to noon on November 13th. So 2:30 to 4:30 and then 4:45 to noon. What does that leave? Between 4:30 and 4:45. The 15 minutes of time that they would have needed to see what happened to that sport utility that parked right in front of their residence. So if you think for a second that between the time that DM was calling somebody that pulled parked right
because I just fucking can't anymore.
In front of their residence. So if you think for a second that between the time that DM was calling somebody that pulled right in front of their house at 428 and the time that you see here this guy pulling through the neighborhood, apparently with no sirens or lights on, just like we expected on the 911 call. If you think nothing happened between 4:30 and when this guy pulls in and sees all these youngsters standing in front of the house, acting all shocked and scared like they just figured stuff out, yet we know there's a lot that's happened between 4:30 and right now. See them all standing out there all shocked and scared. If you think those young ladies sat in that room all morning shocked and scared waiting on their friends to get there at noon, then I don't know what to tell you. This has been planned all night long.
Yep.
Also, I would question this because if they're hitting arteries like the autopsy results suggest, that means that all the victims, especially Maddie and Kaylee, would have bled out pretty quickly. And you see what happened to that blood is it didn't just pull up on the floor. It went right through the cracks in the floor and right down the wall into Dylan's room. So if Dylan stayed in that room for an extra 5 or 6 or 7 minutes, as they claim, why didn't she see the blood that was dripping down her wall? Because we clearly see it in crime scene photos that were taken significantly after the crime happened that are in those ISP docs. So this blue color that you see is absolutely blood, and it appears to be blue because of the chemical reagents that were applied to it at the time. And you can see when luminol is applied to the blood, if dried blood has been treated with a chemical agent like luminol or fluorescein, it will react with the hemoglobin in the blood to produce a blue glow, chemical luminescence. What we don't see in that body cam as they're walking through the house is everything that the luminol picked up that apparently must have been cleaned up. Like all these blood droplets on the stairs here and all the blood smears on the wall here. Look at all this. I don't think they seen this as they were walking through with their body cams. I think this is what the defense was talking about with evidence of cleanup. Look at all this. And then there's I believe this to be Dylan's room, where you see the blood that was dripping down the wall all the way to the baseboards. And I don't know, wouldn't if she was in her room, wouldn't this have happened fairly quick, and wouldn't she have seen it if it was dripping down her wall? And then of course there's other evidence that they were pointing to, and I'm not quite sure what exactly this is.
Fireball.
It just looks like wrapper maybe off of an alcohol bottle, but they sure seemed interested in marking it as evidence for some reason. And you can see it's marked as evidence right here. You see that same wrapper in the mirror there. But I don't know. I'm thinking that it didn't just take luminol for them to find this, did it? Give me a break. So I guess in Idaho, when the BS comes falling, it's not just a little afternoon shower, it is a monsoon of BS that comes falling. And it's amazing to me that they even put out the footage of the vehicle pulling back up in front of 1112 at 329. But I guess they can do that when they know there's no footage for the next 15 minutes showing what happened. But when you listen close and you can clearly hear that door slam out in front of 1112 right at the time you correlate it with the text, well, you know that's one or both of those roommates coming out of the house, and they're getting in one of those cars out in front because, you know what, they don't want to be in that house anymore. And they're calling somebody, according to the statements of defense expert Roloff, that some of those Snapchat calls after that phone call that Dylan made could have very likely been to Dylan's father. So was he in town? It wasn't it parents' weekend? Maybe he was still in town. I have no idea, but I know somebody pulled up in front of that house, and there's a strange time gap in their calls right as that happens, and that's no coincidence. And anybody that oh my good, Koberger, man, if you don't file the appeal, then I mean, I'm beginning to think maybe you are mentally incapacitated because of your jail stay. I mean, that's all I can think of. But somebody needs to get on it and file it for him, because, like I said, there's only about 12 or 13 days left, and I've go through the Meister case on what happens in post-conviction relief, and it ain't good. It is mind-boggling what you read in that case, what happened to Meister. And Koberger, what will end up happening is he'll end up having Kathy Mabbitt filing his appeals for him if the state appoints him one, because that's what happened to Meister. Oh, there's so much I'm going to bring you, but I'm going to bring it a piece at a time. I'm not getting in any hurry on this stuff. Oh, by the way, I put out a post yesterday, and it wasn't me that I couldn't find them, but a lot of the people took my direction on trying to locate who it was that was unalived in that incident down there in Lewiston, and it looks like it was a guy named Nicholas Mowich. And I posted his obituary picture yesterday in a community post along with his criminal record, and I believe that's the direction that is going to be followed by old Pav here for quite some time. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Post your comments, thoughts, criticisms. Hopefully I'll see you again tomorrow. Pavarotti's out.
Fly away. It's the first time of today.
In today's top story, we're reminded why truth is often stranger than fiction. But before we get into today's stories, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, then you've come to the right channel, because that's all we do, and we upload 3, 4, even 5 times every week. So if that's of interest to you, please...
Welcome to Idaho, where you too can experience the phenomenon known as